Hey guys, it's Scott with scottieb Cards, and in this video I'm answering your baseball card hot takes. Baseball Card Hot Takes is an episode where I will ask my audience for their hot takes, they will give me their hot takes, and then I say if I disagree with those hot takes. For example, the very first one we're going to talk about, in 20 years, one of the crazy new parallels will be desired similar to gold parallels and black parallels. Surprisingly, I 100% agree. More than one of the crazy new parallels are going to be this way. A lot of the gold parallels, the black parallels, they're not that old. I think they go back to like the early 2000s. In the history of sports cards, it's only 20 years or so. Things are going to change in the next 20 years in sports card collecting, and we can't just say only the legacy sets are going to have value, right? That doesn't make any sense when you think about it. There's a new parallel in Topps Chrome called the geometric parallel. I think it's actually really cool looking. It looks better than a regular gold refractor in vacuum. If you just looked at it, it looks better. That's an opinion-based thing. I could run a poll if we did based off of looks, not value. I think people would agree. They also have the waves and the shimmers, and they're doing all these things with parallels themselves. Some of those are going to have major value and be worth a lot of money. We don't know what that is quite yet. On top of that, the black parallel out of 10 now exists at Topps Chrome, so that could be valuable. One thing I do want to point out is Fanatics and Topps are making a bunch of new stuff all the time. And these new cards are going to be the cards that people care about. We've seen a massive shift lately for just the rookie debut patch autograph for Paul Skeens going for $1 million, while his Bowman Chrome Superfractor autograph went for $150,000. So I do think that some of these newer cards are going to become the cards that everybody does want. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But if you are interested, I could do a video on this topic and we can look at some of the cards and kind of guess which ones we think will have the most long-term value in the future. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. Next question. If it's less than $2,000 in value, it's going to tank. I think this is in referencing to cards at $2,000 of value right now. I will just say it's pretty crazy that $2,000 is considered not very much money in sports cards right now. $2,000 for the history of the sports cards has been a lot of money. $2,000 is a mortgage payment for a lot of people for the month. And so I do think saying this is pretty, I wouldn't say elitist, because I don't want to say that about this person, but it's one of those things where it could be considered silly because think about it. A lot of cards are worth less than $2,000. And so to assume all of those will be worthless or we're not able to gain is kind of just wrong. A lot of the high-end stuff feels a little bit artificially inflated right now during this little bit of a bubble we're going through. So if anything, those ones are going to take potentially if we want to look at it. I think if anything tanks, they'll tank together, but I do think just like the high-end stuff can grow, so about the $300 cards from $300 to $400, I think that's equally possible. So no, I think there's a lot of really wonderful cards in the $2,000 price range, a lot of which we don't even realize we want yet. We will in a few years and those will go up. So I don't think this was true. It's not good to have one company hold the licenses to all of the big sports in the United States. This is in reference to trading cards, obviously, but it's one of those things where I do agree to an extent with this. In some arguments, there's benefits to monopolies. Other arguments, it's a very bad thing to have monopolies. So the benefits of monopoly in sports cards is every single set, football, baseball, basketball, because that's who Topps is going to own in the next few years. They will have the same sets, the same parallels, the same standards across the board, which is good because then it helps collectors cross-pollinate in sports more, which is nice. But the negative aspect of it is there's no reason for them to be incentivized to create new stuff. Creativity goes out the window. The thing I will caveat with that though, if anybody from Topps is watching this, is Fanatics and Topps have done a good job of creating new stuff, a lot of which has been received bad. Some of it's been received okay. Some of it has been received with glowing praise. So it's one of those things where there are disadvantages to a monopoly. If you look back in the 1990s when there was not a monopoly at all, or the early 2000s, the monopoly didn't really happen until like the early 2010s, late 2000s. Right around there is when it all became Topps, and things have standardized and we have consistency, which is good, but we lost some of the really big steps companies have made. If you look at the 1990s again as an example, a lot of the big steps moved forward like refractors and parallels and numbered cards and one-of-ones and autograph cards and jersey cards, all of those innovations that we had because there was competition. So that's what we lose, is we lose that, and it incentivizes Topps just to print money versus having to look out for the consumer. So it's tough. I am in the middle. I prefer if there was competition, but there are arguments where you could prefer a monopoly, which is weird to say. Ohtani cards will sizably dip if and when the Dodgers don't win the World Series. I don't agree. And the reason I say that is because Ohtani already won a World Series. If he had never won a World Series up to this point and they didn't win the World Series this year, I could see that. Look at Aaron Judge. That's who I'm more concerned about with the World Series. The World Series impacts Aaron Judge's cards more than a World Series will impact Ohtani's cards. A lot of the Ohtani hype is already baked in, and baseball isn't one of those sports like football where Mahomes needs to win the Super Bowl often. Ohtani, if he wins one, maybe two, that is good. That is good for a baseball player. Look at Barry Bonds. He has 0. Look at Ken Griffey Jr. He has 0. Look at Mike Trout. He has 0. Aaron Judge has 0. Bryce Harper has 0. A lot of the good players don't. Go back further. Ted Williams has 0. Mickey Mantle, he has a lot, obviously. But if you look at Willie Mays, he has 1. Hank Aaron, he has 1. A lot of the best players only usually win once. So baseball is a hard sport. It's very much a team sport. So Ohtani can be really good. Actually, I argue Ohtani has more impact on the game than a majority of players in the history of baseball do because he hits and pitches in some games. But I think the biggest risk to Ohtani is if he goes into the playoffs and pitches terribly. I think that is a bigger concern for his card values if he goes in an elimination game, lets up 6 runs. I think that's going to hurt him for like, oh, he's a playoff choker. That's a bigger deal than if he goes in, has a good to okay playoffs and they lose. It's baseball. And they already won last year. So I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. If they don't win from now until 2034, if I think that's when his he goes further than that. Either way, if they don't win until he finishes his contract, that could hurt him. But I think he'll be fine if they don't win the World Series. All non-rookie players should have autographs limited to 1 to 2 sets per year. Wonderful hot take. This is a great hot take, and I agree 1,000%. Every year, look at Freddie Freeman. Look at Mike Trout. Let's talk about Michael Nelson Trout here. I love Mike Trout, but he has so many autographs in every single set that's released every single year. He has autographs in every set of Heritage, and every set of Dynasty, and every set of all of these things where autographs of one of the better players of our generation aren't very expensive. Imagine if they limited it to just like he's only in Dynasty and he's only in one set of Heritage this year, and the next year he's only in Tribute and he's only in whatever. That could help those cards have value. The benefit of this obviously is that there are more autographs for the people, so more people can afford them. But if you want to look at like making those cards really exciting to find and really exciting to pull, this would be a really good solution. There is too many parallels in different sets. Late 2000s, early 2010s were a sweet spot for them. I like this hot take. I know earlier I talked about competition. It may sound a little bit different, but I love this era of card collecting. And this is after the Topps received the monopoly aspect, received full control from the Players Association of Major League Baseball. But I think this is the best era of sports cards for a collecting perspective because rainbows are smaller, limited sets, a lot of rookies only had a few sets, very easy to target the really cool stuff. If you can find the rare stuff, it's really nice. Compared to now, it's a little bit more nuanced. You don't quite know what the best card is yet. We could argue Dynasty, Bowman Chrome first are still the card, but you could argue Reading Heritage Row 1 autographs. You could argue other stuff, right? It's wide open. We'll have to see what happens. But this era, one of my favorites of all time. Last one, I think this is a really good hot take. Baseball card collecting is dead. I think it's true collecting. It's now an investing hobby disguised as card collecting. I agree in some ways. I don't think baseball card collecting is dead. I still am a player collector, and my goal is to own every Billy Butler card in the world. And I guarantee you there is no investment opportunity there unless I sell them to Billy himself after I do something crazy, Big Rainbow or something. But I do think there's a lot of baseball card collectors out there. We are just indoctrinated with investment stuff on social media, including myself. I talk about it all the time. And it's because part of my stuff is about personal collecting and part of my stuff is about investing. And my audience seems to prefer the investing content and they get more views and people like that content. So that's the content I make. But I would love to make more collecting content. I don't think it's dead per se, but maybe some live support. I think we need to teach the youth about collecting as much as we are about flipping and making a profit at a card show. Maybe explaining the beauty of certain sets and going after a gold refractor run of 2011 Topps Finest if you wanted, and if you want to go chase those. But collecting isn't dead yet. It's just not highlighted as much, in my opinion, with the way that everything is going. And there are a lot of investors, to be fair to the person who submitted this. There's a lot of investors that really don't collect at all. But I do think there's a lot out there. So if you are questioning if you want to be a collector or investor, it's okay to be both. Find what you like and collect those, but also don't be afraid to take a profit if something comes up. So those are my baseball card hot takes this week. Let me know in the comments what do you agree, disagree with, and I will see you in the next video.